Okay, just a little update on the 3.2 litre short stroke engine. So what's happened so far is the cases have been cleaned, the tunnels have been resized, so I have perfect oil clearances on the main bearings, so 1 through 7, and of course number 8's taken off by the nose bearing. Yeah, so I always aim for somewhere between 2 to 2.5 thousandths of oil clearance on the main, so the case was quite a lot out of spec. It was about nearly 2 thou out of spec, so yeah, that needed a lot of work to make that right. And in case you're wondering, these are just standard nuts that I use. So while other parts are off being zinc plated, I just use these to pull the case together. Number 3, the actual piston squirter. Yeah, so the piston squirter on number 3 was a little bit, what's the word? It wasn't quite closed, and so it was dribbling just a little bit with low pressure. It probably wouldn't have been an issue, and I did speak to a few people who said, look, it's probably going to be fine, it just means it's going to be dribbling a little bit, it might affect you. I don't think it was anywhere near enough to affect oil pressure at idle, but because it was the only one that wasn't working quite properly, I've ended up pulling the squirter out and replacing it. Hopefully that'll zoom in, you'll be able to see that, but it's been re-peened and also glued in with special green Loctite, so it's not going anywhere. I've tested it many times since, and it's not going anywhere. So all 6 piston squirters are perfect. I just need to put the plugs back in the front and the rear of the case because it's had a really good clean out. And I've also, you'll remember from the initial video that remember it had failed chain tensioners, so the chains were flapping around and absolutely just mutilating this wheel. In fact, it's actually got a burr on it, so there's a burr on the tops of these teeth where the chain's been rubbing it that way. And there is actually a spot inside the case because it's such a fine clearance, but those little burrs are actually just touching the inside of the case, so there's like a shiny spot where it's been kissing. And the 2 chain sprockets on the intermediate shaft are also quite bad. This one really badly chewed up. You can probably see it, I think. This one not as bad, but if you're going to replace one, you may as well replace 2. So there is a new set of gears on the intermediate shaft. This is only a mock-up, so everything's oiled. One of the final tests I do, you can actually see where the chain's been eating away at the case there. So luckily it didn't go too much further, or we would have had a seal. I'm pretty sure that'll seal fine. But yes, we got a nice new shiny intermediate gear. And I've checked the backlash. The backlash is right within spec. Like the spec for these, the clearance is something like 0.015 millimeters of backlash up to 0.04, which is next to nothing. But yeah, I've checked it, and there is just that amount of clearance there. New sprockets, and of course, I'll just grab a pulley and. Okay, so I've just put on a pulley from a spare engine, and as you can see, crankshaft turns nice and fine. No resistance, no binding, just nice smooth rotation.